What's up, everybody? Welcome to the exam breakdown. My name is D. Kumar, and today we're going to be working on real estate examination review all over the United States. This is going to be good for anywhere, anytime, any place in the United States to get you help with studying for that real estate examination. And my job is to cut through all of the noise and the nonsense and the extraneous stuff that y'all have to study and say, hey, look, focus here. Don't worry about this stuff. Focus here only. Don't worry about that stuff. So I'm trying to eliminate some drag. Now, it is working like a charm. We are growing. So thank you guys very much for supporting our channel. It's been awesome. The official tally as of today is our community spends approximately 12,000 hours every 28 days consuming our content. And it's helping. We're seeing comments all over the place. Just check them out for yourself, and you guys are going to see, hey, I'm passing my exam. Hey, this is working in this state. This is working in that state. This is working everywhere. All right. My experience, my background, I've been teaching for like 30 years. I've been helping folks through all kinds of studying for examinations. And at this point, I've trained thousands and thousands and thousands of folks. So I have a lot of tactical experience, a lot of real world experience. I'm a professional investor. I've been investing since I've been 18 years old. And I am thrilled to welcome you as one of the gatekeepers getting you into the business. And I hope you get in. I hope you get licensed. And I hope the realizations that you have are going to be exceptional. I'm looking forward to hearing success stories. So even after y'all passing, hang in there, hang with us. We're putting out a lot more content in these different verticals that are going to help you tremendously getting through and understanding, not only in the professional capacity, but just in anything real estate. So if you are looking to learn about anything real estate, please consider us as one of your choices to get that information. All right. If you have any questions whatsoever, please leave them in the comments. We absolutely look forward to responding to every single comment. So go ahead and let them rip. If there's something you'd like me to review, I'm going to be happy to do that. So go ahead and put those in there. We do those accommodations all the time. All right. Now, remember, this is good in every single state. So for anybody watching this in the United States looking to get their real estate license, this is going to help you out. Now, today we have something special. Today, a lot of folks have been realizing that we post questions in our community posts on YouTube every day. And there's something new happening on our posts every day. And we're giving students questions, and they love them. And the response has been growing and growing and growing. So thank you. What I've done and what Kate has done, who's my partner, is we've put together a compendium, and I'm going to go through a few today, of the most popular community posts, and where appropriate, I'm going to identify and to what extent the incorrect answers that were chosen sort of in the community post. Obviously, we'll go through the correct answer, but I want to show you the number one wrong answer. Now, that's another way to approach studying, because many times what this will help you do is really pay attention to sort of the fine points of what's happening inside of the question. Many times people make snap decisions and they go to the wrong answer. And that's usually why you see a lot of like, hey, I'm almost there. I just missed it by like a few points kind of scenarios. And so hopefully this will be helping those that are looking for the community posts and following those. Okay. So let's get into these. What I want to do is I want to jump right in. And we'll take a peek here. These community posts are actually pretty useful. I'm just going to also look over my shoulder. I want to make sure that everything is streaming properly. It looks like we're good to go. All right, let's do this. So the first one that was pretty popular was, which of the following distinguishes negligent misrepresentation from intentional misrepresentation? I'm going to pop in down here and move you over. All right, looks pretty good. Letter A, the level of harm caused to the misrepresented party. Letter B, the agent's choice to conceal material defects. Letter C, the absence of intent to deceive or conceal material facts. Letter D, the amount of false information that is provided. So it's asking us, which of the following distinguishes negligent misrepresentation from intentional misrepresentation? Absolutely something you want to know, and you need to know the distinction. And the answer is letter C, the absence of intent to deceive or conceal material facts. So the difference between negligent misrepresentation and intentional is the intent to deceive. That's pretty simple. Now, the number one wrong answer that students picked on our YouTube channel was the agent's choice to conceal material defects. And so that was the number one wrong answer. The correct answer here all day long was the absence of intent to deceive or conceal. So if you're intentionally looking to conceal something, then that's the intentional misrepresentation. Negligence simply means that you should have known something that you were saying was false or could be injurious, that you should have known better. That's the difference between negligence and intentional misrepresentation. Definitely something you're going to see. The next question: what is the primary purpose of the statute of frauds in real estate contracts? Letter A, to ensure contracts are fair and equitable. Letter B, to require all contracts to be in writing. Letter C, to promote transparency in contract negotiations. Letter D, to prevent disputes arising from oral agreements. So again, what is the primary purpose of the statute of frauds? And the answer is letter D, to prevent disputes arising from oral agreements. Now, this is very interesting, and look at 41% of our students picked letter B here, to require all contracts to be in writing. Now, here's a problem. In many courses that students are taking right now, it is a misunderstood component of statute of frauds. Many instructors and many textbooks that you have that are out there, as a matter of fact, do point to the requiring all contracts be in writing. Well, that's not the primary purpose. The primary purpose of the statute of frauds is to prevent disputes arising from oral agreements. So there's a difference here. One is saying to require all contracts to be in writing. That's not the primary purpose of the statute of frauds. The statute of frauds was written into law to prevent disputes from all of the oral arguments and agreements that were taking place. So like the courts were inundated with hearsay. It's like, hey, the innkeeper and the ale distributor would, on a handshake agree to get into business with each other, and then the ale distributor would increase their prices, and this was all oral agreement. So the two of them would dispute it and go to the local magistrate, and the magistrate was like, dude, look, we can't help you unless there's something in writing. This is getting ridiculous. We don't know who's telling the truth or not. So if you want to come to us, if you want to have something enforceable, then it needs to be in writing. So to prevent disputes arising from oral agreements was the primary purpose, and the ultimate intended consequence is that most contracts, especially in real estate, have to be in writing in order to be enforceable. So per the statute of frauds, however, to prevent disputes from arising from oral agreements, definitely rewatch this and you'll learn these little bits. And this is what's helping to sharpen the blade as you're getting ready for that examination. This stuff's good. This stuff's really valuable to be able to study this stuff like this. The next question, let me just get out of the way and then I'll pull this a little bit more center. Gary is looking for a financing option where he can borrow against his home's equity as needed with variable interest rates similar to a credit card. What should he consider? Letter A, a home equity loan. Letter B, a bridge loan. Letter C, a wraparound mortgage. Letter D, a home equity line of credit or HELOC. They're looking for a financing option where they can borrow against the home's equity as needed, with variable interest rates similar to a credit card. And the answer is letter D. The number one wrong answer, if you look here, 46% of our community picked home equity loan. And the truth is, they kind of looked at it and they said, here's home equity. And as needed is something that I circled. As needed. A home equity loan is when you draw a larger amount, and it's not similar to a credit card. A credit card type financing option is the HELOC. So this is the credit card loan that you can draw up and pay down and draw up and pay down. And that's the idea. A home equity loan is simply could just be a second mortgage. It could just be pulling cash out in one lump sum. But the home equity line of credit, you can utilize like a credit card, and that's the difference. And so just remember that if this were a question, 46% of our students were like, oh, this is the answer. So, and again, this is just another point to get you over the finish line. The next question, what is an advantage of adjustable rate mortgages or ARMs? Letter A, lower initial interest rate compared to fixed rate loans. Letter B, predictable monthly payments. Letter C, fixed interest rates throughout the loan term. Letter D, all of the above. And the answer is letter A, lower initial interest rates compared to fixed rate loans. The 32% of our audience in this community post selected all of the above. Now, sort of there's contradiction here if you just look at it, right? So sometimes what could happen is the way things are worded on these questions, as many of y'all know, because I've trained so many of you, and I've literally looked at every single resource out there in the available kind of to check it out. And I can certainly tell you that they put questions into exams like this, and many times the path of least resistance happens to sound like D, all of the above. But if you look at the contradiction, ARMs are completely adjusting interest rates, right? So they're completely moving all the time. And because of that, well, they're not predictable. So predictable monthly payments is just completely not a feature of or an advantage, I would say here, of what that is. So it eliminates B. And as soon as I know that one of them doesn't fit, then I can eliminate D. Then I know, okay, well, maybe it's between A and C. Well, adjustable rate mortgages are not fixed interest rates throughout the loan. That's not true. So we know that that's incorrect as well. And we can only go to letter A as the viable answer. So again, I'll use process of elimination. I'll play a little bit of game here to say, okay, well, let me entertain two of these. There's possibility. And then I'm going to kind of go through and sort of, shoot it apart and just kind of go, okay, this couldn't be it because of this. Next question, which approach is most suitable for estimating the value of unique or specialized properties? Letter A, the income analysis approach. Letter B, automated valuation model. Letter C, the cost approach. Letter D, the sales comparison approach. Which of the following, which approach is most suitable? When you play these games in the test writing world, they're looking for something specific. It's the most suitable for estimating the value of unique or specialized properties. And the answer, letter C, is the cost approach. And there was a lot of sales comparison approach. So this is simply just knowing the definition. And sort of the red herring is in many books, you might learn about something called an AVM, an automated valuation model. And so letter B is interesting, right? Because we use these in modern day lending practices to try to determine an estimate of value, many times for home equity lines of credit and HELOCs and stuff like that. And so what they do is, or if you're trying to get rid of PMI, they use AVMs. But that's not that's not a method or an approach to value. So we can eliminate B by simply saying, well, that's not one of the three approaches that you learn about. Remember, we learn about three approaches in all valuation chapters when you're studying for this exam. We learn about the income approach, we learn about the cost approach, and we learn about the sales comparison or the market data approach. So we know that A, B, and D are all legit things. We can kick B out. So now it's between them. And we learn, hopefully you learn this in your classes, I know I teach it in mine, that the unique or specialized properties, the most suitable for those is the cost approach. Okay, reproduction and replacement cost are two subcategories. You want to also remember and study the three different types of depreciation, the incurable versus curable functions for each, except for external or economic obsolescence, which is always incurable. And you want to definitely know how that all works. The next question is the act of the government exercising its right to take private property for public use. Now, by the way, I have gone over these types, this category of question a lot. If you've been consuming our content, I definitely do it. You're going to see this on exams, and they split hairs here. They're looking for you to get caught. So the classic two answers, letter A, eminent domain, letter B, alienation, letter C, condemnation, letter D, conversion. The act of the government exercising its right to take private property for public use, right? The answer is letter C. 70% of our students picked letter A that are interacting with our community posts. And what that is, and I'm telling you, that's why this question or something like this question is on that examination, highest of probabilities. By the way, I don't have a copy of your exam, but I've trained so many folks, and I've written books. I've been a ghostwriter for other publishing companies. I know this stuff pretty well, and I can tell you what I also know pretty well is the psychology of exam writers. And I'm pretty good. My targeting system is just pretty good with being able to be very focused on what these items are and what I would test you on and what I wouldn't test you on. That's one of the reasons why I'm pretty good at picking this stuff. The truth is many folks realize that eminent domain is a phrase where the government can take private property for public use. So to take private property for public use, the government, its right, eminent domain is the right of government. However, this is saying the act of the government, or another word for act could be the process. And so that's condemnation all day long, is that condemnation is the act or the process, and eminent domain is the right. And again, this is a question that nails, as you can see here, 70%. And if you can just get this one and you're just about to pass, you just passed. So let's do this. You guys have this. You look at the very fine points here, and you'll figure out what I'm talking about, okay? So this is super helpful, hopefully. I mean, if I were studying, this is something that I would want to know as I'm drilling down and fine-tuning right before the exam. The act of transferring or conveying ownership, rights or interests in a property from one party to another is known as, letter A, conversion. Letter B, alienation. Letter C, estoppel. Letter D, eviction. The act of transferring or conveying ownership, there's that word again, act, or interest in a property from one party to another. And the answer is letter B, alienation. 53% of folks that attempted this question picked conversion as the answer. Conversion, the act of transferring or conveying ownership rights or interests in a property from one party to another. Conversion. Now, conversion, by the way, is not any of that. Conversion, if you remember from your brokerage sections, is taking escrowed money and using that money for purposes not appropriate to the deal. Just using other people's money. That's conversion. And then commingling is another word that goes hand in hand with conversion, right? Alienation, textbook definition, is the act of transferring or conveying. As a matter of fact, the word alienation means to transfer. I guarantee the word alienation, estoppel, conversion, all of these words are going to be on that exam. And they could show up like this, where you might have to pick a definition and figure it out. They might throw other vocab phrases in here so you've seen them before, but if you're kind of a little fuzzy on what they mean, they could catch you there. So again, we're drilling down. This is when you're getting closer to the examination date. So my friends that are kind of far away, you may not want to go this granular. For those that are kind of farther away from their exams, you might want to just get the big picture, like go through some of the questions, go and understand the concepts and everything else. But when you're looking to drill down, this is the kind of work that you need to do. This is going to simply help you to understand better what is about to come at you. The next one. Which type of ownership is specifically designed for married couples and offers legal protection against individual debts? Letter A, joint tenancy. Letter B, tenancy by the entirety. Letter C, ownership in severalty. Letter D, tenancy in common. There's a little G at the end of this, so skip that little one. Common. So again, these are all co-ownership style questions. And the answer? Which type of ownership is specifically designed for married couples? The answer is tenancy by the entirety. Now, the number one wrong answer here was joint tenancy. So a lot of folks don't know the differences between. Now, the big buzzword here for entirety is married couples. It is reserved exclusively for married couples. That's what it's designed for. There are some states that don't observe tenancy by the entirety. There are some states that observe community property, and some states may be just joint tenancy with right of survivorship. However, the tenancy by the entirety is definitely for married couples only, and it does have protection against individual debts. I'm a big believer that you do need to get these sorted. You want to know these definitions. Tenancy, ownership, and severalty is single or sole. Tenancy in common, joint tenancy, tenancy by the entirety, maybe some of the definitions of community property. You want to know those. You want to know which ones have the right of survivorship. What does right of survivorship mean? And you also want to know little things like, well, what were to happen if somebody were to pass away? Awesome. Next question. If a buyer is making a 10% down payment on a home that costs $800,000, how much are they financing? Letter A, $80,000. Letter B, $120,000. Letter C, $700,000. Letter D, $720,000. And the answer? Letter D. And interesting, right? So on its face, it's a fairly simple question. It's really just asking us, hey, we're making a 10% down payment on a home that costs $800,000. So we can easily get that number. So what a lot of students do, and if you see here, 42% of the students that attempted this question picked letter A. And as you know, that's 10%. So $80,000 is 10% of $800,000. So we know that. And they forgot a step. And that's classic on exams. So again, we have this in here purposefully. We had it in the community posts purposely because we wanted to test a theory. And you see a lot of students, whiffing on this one. And so 42% of y'all picked $80,000, and you were almost there. That's 10%. But how much are they financing was the question, and that was the trick. They buried it like at the end. And then in that case, you subtract $80,000 from $800,000 and you get $720,000. So they are financing 90% loan to value, $720,000. The next one, which of the following is prohibited under Federal Fair Housing Act? Letter A, discrimination based on age. Letter B, discrimination based on military status. Letter C, discrimination based on familial status. Letter D, discrimination based on marital status. Which of the following is prohibited under the Federal Fair Housing Act? And the answer? Letter C, discrimination based on familial status. The number one wrong answer, students picked discrimination based on age. And so you definitely want to know, and the other, look at the subtlety here. Letter B was military status, and letter D was marital status. And other people have picked marital status before. You just need to memorize the 7 protected classes of the Federal Fair Housing Act, and then the 8 protected classes of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act on the federal level. The first 5 are there in sync. Race, color, religion, national origin, and sex are equal. They're the same in both laws. And then there's a deviation. In Federal Fair Housing, it's familial status and disability. And then in Equal Credit Opportunity Act, it's age, marital status, and the receipt of public assistance. You just have to commit this to memory. And if you do, it's going to serve you well. also pay attention that the state fair housing laws in the states that you are in may be substantially more comprehensive to its citizenry than the 7 protected classes. Some states are just like, nope, federal government says 7, we're going to protect 7. And then other states are like, nope, federal government says 7, we can add more, and we're gonna. And like, so that's, you want to know the additional protected classes in the states that you're in. Outside of that, you definitely want to know these. These are classic, and you're going to see these. These are definitely things you're going to see. All right. So that was, my friends, I was looking over my shoulder to make sure everything was all good. That was our community post section. I hope you found that helpful. The truth is, when you're getting closer to exam day, you really need to, with a fine-tooth comb here, go into these questions and sort of lift up the hood and really question things. You're going to see lots of these questions. And again, by no mistake are we purposefully sort of flooding the community posts with various questions, because we know the rhythm of what's the high probability and what's not, okay? So hopefully spending a little time with us just now will serve you well in your studies. Hopefully this time will yield you success. I want to thank you all very much for spending some time with me today, and good luck with your studies, and good luck on your tests. It was an absolute privilege, and pleasure for me to work with you today. I love doing it, by the way. This is super excited to do it, super excited to be here. Love what we're doing. Love the fact that we're helping you get through examinations. I love it, love it, love it, love it. It's awesome. And thank you for subscribing. If you could, please subscribe. If you could, please tell somebody. Please tell somebody about us. Come on now. I'm trying to grow this channel. It would be nothing but happiness if we can serve more and more and more and more. Now, don't forget, we've got new content dropping on a regular basis. We're always going live with the exam breakdowns, live on Mondays, live on Wednesdays. Wednesdays, we do the mortgage loan origination examination, and we are doing real estate brokers and salespersons on Mondays, like we just did now for the exam breakdown. Thank you very much for attending the exam breakdown. My name is D. Kumar. It is a pleasure to have been hanging with you. We will see you all in the next live stream, which is coming up on Wednesday. We'll see you then.